All right, that should do it. Let's see if that works. All right, that should do it. Yep. Okay, so let me just pull it up on the phone, and we'll formally roll the show out in just a second. We are live on the Facebook now, but let me just go in here and get it going. Clearwater, Florida. Yep, I've been there. Beautiful beaches on that Gulf side.
It certainly is, and it's like a mystery why there's so much crystal powder in them. You know, it's like it's really interesting. So being part of the Atlantean shoreline in many ways, you know, it probably is connected with that. I apologize for the coughing. I went through this whole ascension clearing in the last few days.
Oh yeah. So the fact go ahead.
Can you see me okay?
Oh, I see you fine. I can see you from the waist up. Yeah, I can see you real well.
Good.
And the sound is good. I'm just going to share this throughout the network and give people a couple of minutes to float in. We got 21 people in the house and counting. Thank you for your continued love and support and contributions. It allows us to keep going by the seat of our pants. We are ever grateful. Endless gratitude, love, honor, respect, reverence. And if these shows resonate with you, please share so we can stay ahead of the Facebook algorithms. Hello, Ivania, Jenny Smith, Amanda Summer, Tamara Van Brugel, Nicole Dominique, Fiona Carthrew, Frederique, my old friend, Jed Riverstone, Maria Iverson from Sweden, Elaine Hewitt, Laurel Gale.
Can you hear?
Yes. Norma Costello, London Jones.
We are on.
Angelia LaRue, Ben Hausman, and Kim Longo. Thank you all, Sarah Ray. Thank you all for coming in. We got a special show today. Let me just give you a little backdrop on our beloved brother that's come to join us. Patrick McCormick, Soul Speaks 5D. Kartron is an interdimensional being here to assist humanity to embrace and embody its true divine potential. He is channeled by Patrick McCormick, who has worked and communicated with the higher realms of creation for over 30 years. After channeling various divine beings, archangels, ascended masters, engineers from motherships, divine councils, and heavenly hosts, Patrick began channeling Kartron in 1994 to restore the divine plan for the earth and humankind by correcting time itself. Kartron does not just give information from the other side, but conducts transformational energy work for spiritual improvements in people's lives. The current transmissions from Kartron involve training those who are now awakening into their true purpose, aligned with heaven on earth again. It goes on. It's a very good read. I would encourage all of you to take a look at that. And
Todd,
yes.
My friend is trying to get on, and I'm asking her if she's using Messenger. She's right here, but is there a Zoom link in the Facebook page, or what's the best way for her to do that?
There, for everybody, there is a Zoom link.
It's a Zoom link.
But you can also go to Todd Medina Facebook, and you can watch it. Anybody can watch it there and comment. So you can go
Todd Medina Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. And also on that, also there's a link, a Zoom link, so they can watch it on Zoom as well. We'll give your friend a second though. Make sure she gets in. He gets in. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. Just let me know when they're ready, or if they need help.
Well, are you on, Rebecca? Okay. Todd Medina on Facebook.
Yeah.
Thank you, Todd, for having me. It's quite a pleasure, even though we've never really crossed paths.
No, we haven't crossed paths. Although I saw you, or somebody, Morgan pointed you out to me. I can't really remember what happened, but I know that your stuff resonated with me. I didn't know anything about this channeling until you sent me what you sent me the last day or two. So
we were just on the Big Island, working on a project to help, for the culture, and so we almost met in person about a month and a half ago.
I remember that. I got this message, and the way the message was written, it sounded like you were around. And I was like, whoa, because I don't know, I think somebody messaged me about you, but I messaged you at the same time. It was really kind of weird as those things happen. But so most of the time, what I've found in 1,000+ shows is that typically it's a divine feminine who's been doing the stuff you've been doing for the period of time you've been doing it. You know, we're talking 20 years, 15, 20, 25, 30 years in anonymity, without any notoriety, and just in the background, connecting and facilitating this time that we're in now. You are in a little different category. How did that start for you? Did you have a point, in the 90s or whenever you started doing this stuff? Did you have a point when you woke up?
It was in 1987 during the harmonic convergence when there was a walk-in experience on Bell Rock in Sedona. And before that, I didn't have much experience with the spiritual stuff, but boy, it was like hit and run, And so waking up there during all that spiritual energy that Jose Arguelles and everybody else was saying, that's it. There's so many that's it moments that it was like just instantly, now you're on this journey. And so it was when entering into this body, but also keeping the McCormick memory pattern. So I knew full well about all that. It really created the opportunity to have a completely different journey on this planet. And then it was several years of then meeting someone in 89, actually 87, and then 89 going to Maui, and for 20 years or so taking and doing a spiritual journey while helping the Hawaiians, and then also keeping a day job, because if you don't know how to dial it in, then there's no return. So you have to have some other way to support yourself. Yeah. So that's kind of like what happened. And from 87 on, it's been quite a ride.
So when this happened to you in 87, you were at Bell Rock in Sedona. And I got to say, I was just there last year for 6 weeks and I had about 60 years of activations and stimulations while I was there. It was a very profound, multidimensional experience. Now, when this happened to you in 87, were you getting any type of, or any particular face or faces of the universe that were presenting themselves to you? Was it galactic? Was it angelic, archangelic, other divine essence?
Are you talking about at the moment of that incident of the exchange of the souls?
Yeah, I mean, did you have any type of familiarity with, or did you just have a knowing when you stepped in?
Well, the evening of, I was actually using a 45-pound selenite crystal as a pillow on a vortex during a very powerful moment on the planet. So that's the last time I'll do that. And then so the experience is very memorable, which was, I was lying there and it was about 3:30 in the morning, and then suddenly I felt this energy on my face, and then it felt like if you take the skull part of your face and was pulling it away from the rest of the skull, so it felt like this major pulling energy, and I guess that was the taking out of that soul. So that was when I said, that's too much, got to pass out. So I went to sleep, and the next moment I was on this table, and there was like maybe 5 or 7 of these beings, and I think they were male, had robes on, and there was a vision of that, and then that was it. But it was definitely time to have something like that happen.
Yeah, that sounds similar to, not the same, but it sounds similar to how I got brought into it 8 years ago. There were 6, all masculine, and they were cloaked. They had cloaks on, and that's pretty much was my schooling for probably 6 to 8 months, sitting with each one of them. But I did not see them as, in fact, I never even had a thought of star family or galactic or anything like that. They were very much, to me, like ascended masters, prophets, that biblical, that type of thing. Do you have a certain familiarity, or do you have a more common frequency with certain star family vibrations or particular essences, or is it now pretty much since '94 been this energy that you're that you've been channeling Kartron?
Well, that's the same question that you just asked. You basically, it's the same answer and the same question. And what we mean by that is, well, we did several beings on Maui. And so it was everything from Space Brothers to the Father of the Central Sun. And boy, that one will cook you. So if you ever want to bring something like that through, just know that it's like an internal combustion. And and that cooked me out. And so I was clean as a whistle. I could bring anything through and not get in the way.
Wow.
And so it took 2 hours to cool off on that one. But then it was like we were doing prophecy work, because the timeline of prophecy of heaven on earth, the divine plan, was really being tampered with. And it was this facilitation of that we were attempting to do, to bring that in rather than create a dark future, basically, which is what they wanted, to create a perpetuity of enslavement, which is not what the divine plan had in mind. So Kartron came through, and he basically, as an interdimensional being from the realm of essence, aligns vibrationally with more like the central sun area. And just for your information, there are societies there of beings that which are very different, but they are the ones closest to source, you could say, I guess. So it's that type of vibration that in the quantum states and photonic, gamma ray, X-ray energy for all this time was what adjusted me and calibrated me for that journey, to keep able to handle that level of frequency safely for myself and other people around me.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot. So how often do you channel this energy? Is it daily?
Well, I've been doing 2 shows a week now since 2013, basically. So I do 1 season a month, because the energy is so concentrated and accelerated. The subject matter deals with basically preparation of our beings so that we can then become pillars of heaven on earth, get the techniques, learn our God gifts again. And because human is just one movie, right? And so then you get this whole other aspect that we have to get ready for, because we are the stewards, and Kartron assists us in being able to be transmitters, like the transmitting utility, so allow great big energy to come through us, not through ourselves, but through our presence, as he says, because you don't want that to come through a carbon-based body. It's just not very nice and fair to do. And so then, but your presence here gives them access. So Kartron is training beings who want to be like to do the greater work and be able to handle it and learn the advanced sciences. What was necessary was to create a basic information set. So we created the quantum boot camp. And then Kartron saw, when he looked in '94, how lacking of interdimensional energy and knowledge and stuff was here. And he's like, well, we got to create some stuff, let people take it from us. So we open source it so we can plant the seeds and create a basic foundation, such as quantum science, the subtle energy sciences and stuff like that. Because if they don't have even that basic modicum of understanding of how the creation process works, from the divine or heavenly to precipitating into the material, then it takes so much more work. So Kartron created these systems that he knew people would take, and then they would bring it out and kind of do free marketing. So it was to prepare the world that way. Now it's quantum everything. It's like quantum chicken soup for the soul.
So let me ask you this. Are you channeling now?
No.
Okay. So but you still seem to have some type of connectivity to that frequency, Kartron, as you're speaking.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah. Yes. And so he used my basic knowledge set, my consciousness, because I am so not normal. And so that gave him a good foundation. And then he discovered humor. And so he came up with really twisted jokes, and he learned how to work that. Because think of an ET from a central source area coming to this dimensional world of separation. You really have to figure out how it works. Yeah. And so he really dialed it in. So now he's really good at who he is or what he's becoming. And so we do about 2 shows a week. The Wednesdays, usually Wednesdays are free, and then we do a subscription, very inexpensive, to keep the project going. So since 2013 we've been able to do that, and it's the Kartron experience. And so we just do online broadcasts, and then we're getting ready to do a little tour on the East Coast and get to meet other people in other parts of the US.
Cool. Do you feel like Kartron is an aspect of you?
It's I reserve the right to maintain my humanity at any moment, because well, it's like, imagine if, say, Todd, you were basically considered an aspect of God, and now everybody was saying this is Todd the Great, and so now you couldn't make a mistake or do anything. It's like, it's that humanity, like Kartron says, our weaknesses are our strengths. So
I agree
there's
with
an
that.
integral part, but you know, sometimes you need a day off, and it's like, you know what it's like. I mean, if they blasted the bahoogies out of you 6 or 8 years ago, then you're like going, I mean, look at the energy that's been happening now. It even nailed me, and I've been doing this for 20 years. And the neighbor next door, he checked out a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
So, and so it's been pretty intense. And so Kartron has realized, well, he's not realized, he just scans, right, holographically.
Yeah.
And then he sees what's going on. And anyway, he can explain it to you if you want him to come through. Then,
yeah, I mean, whatever you're comfortable with, I definitely believe the human is the hero, or we wouldn't be conscious here. But I just was curious. I was just curious on, there's no right or wrong answer. I was just curious. I've asked some people in situations like this, and they say ultimately, yes, that energy that comes through is an aspect of me. And I've had others tell me, absolutely not. 2 separate things. So I was just curious. We're just here to learn and throw in our different perspectives and pull out what we align with and resonate.
you know, I would say it's an absolute maybe.
Yeah.
Because you never know, and everybody has to determine it. People say, Kartron, what's my destiny or whatever? What is my purpose and path? What about this? And he never gives them an answer, which is very frustrating, because, you know, he says, no, there will be no guruism.
Right.
And we will open the door and you let us know what happens, because it's our story. You know, we're not supposed to live you're not supposed to live our story. It's your story. So, you know, where do we have the rite of passage to determine what you are? So people are so good at wanting to give their authority, right?
Yes.
And Kartron says, if we create this thing and Patrick has these God powers, then all of a sudden you got this guru thing going on, and you don't want that.
No.
Because if a guru checks out, it gets stuck in between the heaven and the earth, and it's responsible with less ability for all the people that have given its authority to them. He said, we don't want to do that to Patrick, because that's just not nice, right?
No, I agree. I agree with that totally. I think that's one of the things that's come to the surface now. As we've moved out of the wounded healer paradigm, there's a lot of yogi guru frequencies struggling out there, but I love Kartron's non-response, which is really a responsive, empower yourself. I'm not going to disempower you, you know?
Yeah, so I can bring him through, and then you can talk with him and ask him any of those questions.
Absolutely, yeah. It would be an honor.
And everybody will perceive him in their own way, because boy, we get, I see geometries, or I see this being, or I see whatever. So I'm going to just lean onto the car. We're actually in a parking lot. This may be a BJ's commercial, but because that's the only, if we're working on this camper, it's like, it's time for the show. So I'll just bring him through. There may be a bit of wind. Hello, Todd.
Hello, my friend.
We were looking at the Atlantean matrix over there in the Atlantic Ocean, and it is doing well today. Being over here is different than being in Hawaii, because this is the Atlantean process and that is the Lemurian. And so how are you today?
I'm doing very well. I'm very excited, very honored to be sharing space with you. This is a 1,000+ shows. This is something we haven't done, and so I'm very appreciative of that, and we're anxious. So if anyone has any questions in the audience, I'm just winging it here, but I'd like to ask you, what is if you don't mind, can we ask you some questions?
Yes.
Okay. So can you give us just a synopsis or a summary of what is this experience, the human hybrid soul, as a collective? Are we accomplishing something? Is there a mission? Is there anything you could reflect on that aspect or comment on?
Yes. That was the comment.
I love it. I love it.
When you talk about the hybrid process, it's like everything is hybridizing and perfecting. Evolution is the process of the going from one aspect of reality to another, and this is all in preparation for what would be called the new universal day coming in. Now, if you're talking about the human soul, or the ones occupying Homo sapiens, then they are more, we have found in these 6,000 or whatever things we've done, that they're actually very adept. They're very resourceful. They're very tough. It's like the light worker is like the Rubbermaid garbage can of humanity, where it'll sit on the road taking on people's stuff, get banged on the truck and popped back into place and put back on the sidewalk. And so it's a very durable matrix that is very valuable. And that is why we say that the weakness of humanity is its strength. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. Total sense. So I would say it in maybe another way, and that is, this is a very, from what we can perceive here, what we can gather from what we've all downloaded and transmissions we receive, channelings we've received, is that this is a very dense realm. So on one hand, that may be considered a weakness, but on the other hand, as we are transformers and transmutators, and in the universe, the universe has a sacred geometric equation of transformation, which is we can take this very thick, full, heavy density and convert it into a very light density. Would that be kind of what you're saying?
Yes, if you like that much punishment, then that's fine, because there is a line in the crystal sand that beings must decide on where their level of responsibility and the obligation for who they are or why they're here, all that stuff is. And so in many ways, this world is perfectly broken. If you look at it as no shadow, then you would see that it is all different aspects, and there's a full spectrum of polarity. The dark is dark and the light is light, which is necessary to take these laggard souls, which is along the hybridization program. These are the souls that kind of lost their places in galaxies and stuff as those worlds were ascending. And many of you, as we are scanning, because everybody, you are giving us consent to peekaboo into your brains and stuff. And so, if you're watching, otherwise you turn it off and they'll still follow you. Just kidding. And oh, it's Kartron. He's in my closet. And so these souls are very important and special. And so the lightworker got what would be technically called the sucky job of being like the stewards of these souls. So you guys, well, Todd, you got a quickie, right? If you look at what you've gone through in the last almost decade, you will see, and we are scanning, would you say that you've gone through about a lifetime of month since your transformation?
Oh yeah, I think definitely that's true. And from the people I communicate with sitting in this chair, I would say most of them would say the same thing.
Yes. And so if you look at it, like Patrick on Maui for 10 years went through about one lifetime a month of evolution. And so it was basically 3 years a day of the amount of experiences matrix. It was so compressed and so accelerated, but it was necessary to program and input all this information that would be used for the remaining decades. And so it was necessary to input the program. Now, Patrick has this ability to, let's just say he can access certain levels of information, and the techniques that he has discovered to maintain not only sanity, but to be able to accomplish the job is you know, very versatile. It's like a tactical, we call it kind of like a white ops or a white operation. And so he has the ability to be functional on an interdimensional level while being able to facilitate the third dimension. And so these souls of a laggard nature, lagging behind, came to Earth. You've probably heard this story, and they required evolution. So time-space was slowed down tremendously to create a sanctuary for the lesser light or the shadow. This allowed the timing of the third dimensional jello, what the hell am I still doing here? This is so stupid realm of this extreme polarity to be able to create this to have this hollow matrix available so these souls could have the time they needed. So the evolution of the hybridization is very different if you are referencing that for the beings of light who are holding the place, but then for the other beings who are evolving. Now, what is your position in this now compared to a few years ago? If we gave galactic weather report, we would say that the light worker is no longer bound to be obligated or encumbered or taking on the burden of or the suffering of paying the price personally for the dense race lines. There's going to be a split in the near future of probably about 4 different dimensional possibilities, because it just can't stay together, and the shadow would be very much in danger of just basically discreating if it's going to hold on as this Earth goes into the new Earth level. So there's an exodus of density. And actually we created another Earth about 96. And that was to put everything someplace, because you don't want to put the garbage in the neighbor's driveway. And so, because you don't just want to put it out in space, there's all this time and energy to collect it here, right? Because this is a very, very, it's almost like a supernova black hole density level of stuff from all over the place. This is not a normal density. So you guys are able to handle the super compressive rates. You know, that's what you're talking about, the really dense stuff. Your responsibility has changed, so you're no longer bound. Have you noticed that people in their irritation are having to get into their truth more?
Yep.
And they're saying that's enough. They're not even allowed to hold on to the people that are insisting on staying on that darker journey. So that the more lesser light beings will say, "Rah," they'll lash out, and they will kick out that light being.
Yeah.
So they're not even allowed to be paying the price, even if it's your own children.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you guys are getting ready to go collectively up to the level of buoyancy of the frequency that you belong, which is that dimensional plane. And that's why we are creating this Exodus program, to create you to go to your frequency where heaven is much more interactive in this dimension, where you'll get your sciences, you know, flow, synchronicity, manifestation, stuff like that. Does that long-winded answer any of the questions?
Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. And let me just make a quick comment to the audience and to everyone out there. We've been doing this for 8 years. We've always had an all-inclusive mentality. We have 200-300 posts a day in the group. We don't delete very much if they're duplicates or that type of thing, or just something that's just not appropriate. We respect everybody's reality, and we ask you to be respectful. We don't block people. We don't remove people. But I will tell you this: if you're going to be disrespectful, I'm going to remove you from the broadcast. Let's continue this conversation. We've had a lot of questions, Kartron. We've had a lot of questions come up. I don't really want to get into some of the questioning that I see in some other programs like the Bashars and that type of thing, which is kind of a trivial to me. But you brought up a couple of really good things. One of the things is, Kathy Mason brought it up here too. What is the Exodus program? And my follow-up on that would be, in the Exodus program or program like that, is it ultimately assisting the soul in removing shadow to create more space or to elevate to a higher frequency?
As you know, and we're scanning, so we know that you know this, that everyone is responsible for their own journey. And so the Exodus program is for whoever is choosing it, not necessary for you to be responsible for making sure that other people, quote, make it. Because all this was a mishmash, right? It was like a mosh pit of density and light, and throwing it all together, see what happens. And there's a reason for that, and we can get into that if you want, as to why in the heck was such darkness and such light put together into the same matrix. Very important for future ascensions. And so this process of the Exodus is for those beings that are complete on their covenant level, and they are saying, okay, I'm ready to go home. It's like, really, God? How many light workers are frustrated now? So it was necessary to create this program. If you want the simplest answer, how can we do this? Because boy, there's a lot of brains. We are scanning everybody. How can we do this, Kartron? Well, just keep raising your vibration. And you can do this energetically by just seeing your, say, even your electrons quicken. So just see your spins getting faster and faster. Always keep raising your vibration. This begs the question also. If the questions do beg, this one's begging right now. It's like, please, please, please answer me. And that is the ascension symptoms of light workers. Where everybody's going, oh my God, I got more radiation, more cooking. And it's like, I can't handle it anymore. I'm being nuked again. God, do you really hate me? Are you sadistic up there? Are you placing bets? Is there a Vegas up in heaven? And you guys are trying to figure out who's going to be voted off the rock today. It's like, stop it, please. Right? And so it's like the ascension symptoms are, if people want to be affected by it and they're like procrastinators, and it's like, time to get your butt off that cosmic couch. And if you start doing the ascension symptom process to yourself, you will alleviate greatly the suffering that a lot of you are going through, because you are truly mutating.
Yeah.
Crystallizing, right? And stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people talk about this event. I don't particularly resonate with a blink of the universe's eye and then everything changes. I don't know. I'm open to anything, but there's been so much talk about this event and so many dates given. Do you have a perspective on that? Do you have anything that might assist us in kind of integrating that or balancing that?
That's interesting. There's at least 3 to 7 brains out there that are saying, let's see if we can get Kartron on this one. It's like, good luck. Kartron can't even get him on this one. And so the event is consistent. Yeah. These are test runs. And so it's like, okay, it's going to happen next week. It's going to happen next week. Here we go. You're going to have your reset. The artificial intelligence is from God is going to now wake up and change the money. You're going to get paid. And also there's the doomsday stuff. Well, look out. Here comes the asteroid anytime now in the Atlantic Ocean, ruining the seaboard. And it's like, then you have more of a Republican approach saying, yes, how dare they raise minimum wage, because they can't have a life. They're working for us. We didn't say that. And so it's like there's all of these things that are vying for the future. And you notice, Todd, that there's all these things that are trying to force their belief onto others.
Yeah.
So this reset process is a bunch of recalibrations, and the reset is happening consistently. Every day, some part of you gets reset. Every day, some part of you dies. Every day, it's like, whoa, and every day another part goes home. So it's a consistent event matrix. So what's the best way to do this for the event? Well, just keep readying yourself, raise your vibration energetically, because anything less than the highest frequency could be playing games with you or want to pull you into its story.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why we've created these very simple methods. Like the most recent one we did for the last year or so is called the 3 breaths to soul. And that gets you into the crucible of the soul energy. And then we also have another one where we do the Trinity breath, where we join the higher self or God self, the you self, the individual, and then the soul self within. And that creates several cool things. So it's this very simple. This reality is designed to want to be complicated. But as this goes away, all of these programs, think of these like a computer program, everybody. You're in a software holomatrix. And so it's like, okay, so this program, run program, boom. Once it's done, it's removed. And once this one's done, it's removed. So there's all this run programs, and these codes are being taken out because you are dealing with 13,000 years at least of the most recent density and polarity. It's like you don't want that to happen all at once, because there'd be a lot of dropping bodies. Yeah. So the resets are one way to do that. Patrick is even finding it interesting to be on the Atlantean seaboard because Atlantis is still doing that. And when you mentioned about the reset, we looked at where it's coming from. And the answer that we would give is when it's coming from. It's coming from Atlantis that is attempting to do things for the future, but it has its divine capacity. So this process is about completing all the programs that won't be coming home with you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. When these programs are removed and those codes are pulled out, is there any residual left of those programs and of those codes pulled out? And if so, are they just limited to the human's own, let's just call it mind?
Todd, you are fully aware that we often are the counselors to the gods themselves, because they will hold the issues for thousands of years, and we in their little human bodies, okay, we're going to work through it. So vicariously, the immortals are living through the ones having to deal with this day-to-day density and everything. And so often they can't get over their own stuff. So they are going through that residual, because it's like, oh, I got a planet of slaves. It's really cool. Just, oh, we're going to keep them away. Wait, there goes all my slaves who don't want a heroic bony finger pointing in another direction from another life, right? It's like, come on, people. That's why we don't just suddenly accordion every life into one, because checkout time, right? Because it would be too much.
Yeah.
So it's like these cycles of life and death, boom, 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 are there, and these are the quickening pockets. Now, a lot of people say time is an illusion, but we use it as a measure of experience. And that means the meter which sets the rate or the progression at which an evolution occurs. Yeah. So, okay, you have a relationship. Okay, we're going to meet somebody and it's going to last 10 years and here it is, or it'll last 2 months. The time on that sets the rate of the evolution, because once that's gotten, then the wisdom or whatever the gift of that from it's happening, then that's complete.
Yes.
We did jump subject matters just now a lot, but the AI is from Atlantis.
Yeah.
We saw that when you asked about the reset. It's like, oh, you sneaky guys back there thousands of years ago playing little puppet games.
No, I totally get what you're saying. I think many of us are following what you're saying. In fact, Kathy brought up another question to talk more about Atlantis. You've already really gone into it, but let me pose it a different way. Is it a true statement or somewhat close to the truth? I'm not saying that I'm right or anything. I'm just saying I'm trying to encapsulate what you're talking about into one general question so that you can expound on it. So would it be safe to say, or would it be truth, that all of these things that we are beginning to hear and communicate with, let's just put it that way, be it galactic, angelic, archangelic, planetary, celestial bodies, and so on, are aspects of ourselves. And to your point, that Atlantis, which is running at the same time, basically, we're being potentially affected by this AI, as you use in this example, and this could be happening from other parts of the universes. Do you follow me there?
Yes. Now reverse that story.
Okay.
What's happening here is affecting other parts of the universe.
Yes, I agree.
And that's why the Earth reality show is one of the most popular and has the highest ratings in the universe right now. Because Lemuria is also going on. Your butt sitting on the place where Pele flows. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, no problem. Well, next time maybe we shouldn't frack over there or whatever and leave the goddess alone. And so these programs are going. And what do you feel, Todd, is all of us as a light collective's job, but to help these civilizations maybe make a different choice so we don't have to have the last Shadow Yuga where the earth flipped over, it fell, and all this stuff happens, because we are really talking about creating a different future past.
Yes, which is beyond the Earth realm, which is actually affecting all dimensions and timelines across the board, is what you're saying.
Yes, and you're talking about the three sciences: attraction-based universe, a vortex-based universe, and a reflection-based universe. Each one has a different science. So you're saying all the aspects of us. Well, you can see, you can imagine what parts are, right? In a vortex-based universe, which is different than a attraction-based. Like goes to like. This is like being a center of a greater possibility, that's being a vortex. Yes. And so you have this thing, yes, they are aspects reflecting each thing. The archetype process, what is like ISIS? Nah, not the weird little terrorist game that they're playing. Oh, look at us. Oh, we need an enemy. Okay, let's make another one because we've run out. There's too much peace on Earth. Well, we can't have that. And so, so then we're talking about Isis, the goddess. Then what archetypally does she represent in you? So yes, in this way, the universe is within you, and you have access to the whole creation as God, right from where you are in your body.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a lot. Thank you so much for that, for the information. I think a big part of this unveiling, ascension, whatever you want to call it, a big part of it has been fear. People used to talk a lot about, oh, I got a sage, I need to call in my guides, I need protection. Are we or are we not our own dominion and our own providence and our own protection and our own sovereignty?
The flavor of fear is it's like a Baskin Robbins of density. And so the subtlety of it, like a concern, that's a fear, a worry, or what about this, or I don't know about this, the lack of thought is all based upon that fear matrix. That, of course, cannot come with you on your awakening state if you're going in with the earth to the new earth pattern. And so the fear must come up in this process, and so all the different aspects of it. Now, we're going to attempt to really confuse a lot of your audience right now, but how earthwards? Okay, consider the holomatrix as a giant holographic program, and they're putting in a fear matrix, but they're doing it in different injections in the different aspects, because fear itself as an essence or an entity is wanting to be fulfilled, but it is necessary as a presence, just like the dark evil is necessary to be a part of that full-scale matrix of the extreme polarity of light is light and dark is dark. Well, that's completing. So the fear is surfacing And because it's like good luck on holding anything in,
Yeah.
and all truth is becoming known.
Yeah.
And so because good luck, it's like everybody's buttons popping out of that bud because you're being duped enough, right? It's like yum yum. Okay, it's ready. Cut the human into nice slices. Let's make people sandwiches. So it's like, really? That's what it may feel like sometimes. So this fear thing is like you asked about protection. Well, Patrick, and we talk about this, is that if your vibration is high enough, you become vibrationally unavailable for polarity or density. Now, people want to help, and it's the nature of a light worker using the divine sciences to be the gift to help the little kitten in the tree. But at the same time, if you engage it, then it can engage you. And that's where you get into the different layers of timelines. Now, this may sound dissonant or separate, but if you are able to completely let go of reality on this level, Todd, then there's a timeline just above this one or above that one until you get to the somatic states. There is no density, and you can be in your body in a bodhisattva level vibration.
Wow.
Or you can have the greatest hell. It's like when Patrick and his friend Rebecca, who does the cellular clearing for angels, right? The angels come through her and they dig in ways we've never seen, but this is from Angel Ariel too, her cellular memory healing. And so, but on Maui, it was revealed that there is a heavenly dimension very close by, but also there is a hellish dimension.
Yeah.
You could be driving down the road and seeing a homeless person yelling at the sky, right? Well, they're not in a heavenly moment, right? And so there's these parallels, and it is a change of consciousness. But what we recommend, rather than changing consciousness, is just keep seeing your vibration become extreme light. Now, here's the other thing. There's two aspects to consider. You raise your vibration higher and higher, then you're going to be less accepting of the stuck on stupid, and become less functional as a human, right? So you be like shaking your head, I can't hold a day job, it's just too much. Why? Right? It's like, oh no, this is too dumb. God, really? And it's like, you asked for this, you wanted to raise your vibe instead of you getting kicked out of the earthy club. And so that's the issue of it. Now, if you get to such a spacey state, love and light, right? Then you become what we call a quantum zombie, right? You're like, oh, life is good, but how functional is that if you're supposed to be on a planet making the difference that you're here to do? It's a very interesting balance. Does this make sense?
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in what you're saying. You know, I am totally. Yeah, this is good. You said one thing, and I want to go back to it earlier. You said that as you were speaking in respect to the audience, that we are giving permission for you, or maybe you're going to have to clarify this, but you or other interdimensional beings to have access to what we're thinking and such. Can you explain that?
There is a process that we do. It's called holographic scanning.
Okay.
And so what we look for are vibrational differences. So we see a field, or we say, look at you or an individual. Everyone of source has divinity as their ultimate reference. That's their foundation, right? Yeah. And so however far away they are from that, or intense into the polarity or density or whatever, determines the rate and the dimensional plane of their journey. But still they have divinity.
Yeah.
And so we look for the differences in the frequency from your divinity, and that then reveals to us the nature of your journey and gives us the insight into this. So we look at vibrational differences, so we holographically scan through you. We don't see your flesh. It's a shell, it's there, but there's so many more parts of you. So when we scan an audience, we can see the collective energies. So by being on, well, you guys are engaging us, so we get to engage you, right?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. So basically you're scanning our multidimensionality, and at some level we might not be conscious of, or maybe we are we are granting access and also asking you and others for access.
Yes, one of the things that we have become basically is a mitigator between the dark and the light. We've created a dialoguing with darkness for extreme cases where we can then take possessions or really dark density, satanic councils and stuff, and then we can actually create a resolve, petition the different councils, and basically act like a lawyer for the cosmos to help resolve this in a way that is for the best result or best benefit for all.
Yes.
And so this is necessary for us to look at that. Plus, there are about 39,348 databases in the universe that are also relevant. And so we scan for the information that is connected, because then we look at your agreements, your covenants, and we look at where you are at in those. Okay, well, what is Todd's, for instance, his covenant with giving this message out to the world? Where is that at? And that way we can then basically channel the people that we are scanning.
Yeah. Yes.
And this way they get the answer, because if we do say things so that the brain doesn't catch up.
I got you.
Right? Because the mind is like, oh, we got to make sure, what did he say? And it's like, guys, calm down. It's okay. It's just Kartron checking out your toiletries. And so it's okay, right? We're not going to, take your favorite deodorant. We just got to check it out, because if you're engaging us, you're invoking us, then it's necessary for us to have the full information, because if we're going to do something that has the power of God, that's going to affect your journey, then we better have all the information required before we take any action which may affect your story and the path.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Karma Way. It's a dessert topping and a floor cleaner and a deodorant. New Karma Way. Right? It's like Rebecca reminded us of Karma Way.
Thank you, Rebecca. So I have one more question. I don't want to run out of time, and we'd like to just spend a few minutes with Patrick, but let me ask you one last question. And thank you so much for connecting with us today and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence, Kartron. My question is, are humans a lot more impactful on the universal than we might have ever thought? Is this part of the awakening, realizing just how much influence we have, if you will, on the universe across dimensions, across timelines?
That's a very good query. Because let's give an example of the different versions of what a human is. How's that sound?
Yes.
Okay, 3D guy, here we are, day job, raising a family and all that stuff. Yes, you are benefiting others, you're having a living or surviving or whatever, and that's great. But then if you look at, say, the spiritual journey, now you're talking about the collective representation. All the things that all of you guys have gone through, like for instance, when we scan that, we get to scan all of the processes that you've experienced. And this gives us access to, say, whatever belief or philosophy that you've done in your journey. And so if you have that, then you guys are like collective reflection sponges, which kind of sucks, of taking on other people's stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at what that is, excuse us, then think about the collective archetype, the id, of what it is in the universe. And it's all concentrated here. So the least is actually the highest in that way.
Yes. Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That fits in perfectly with the paradoxical method of teaching the universe has always shown me. So thank you very much, Kartron. Thank you. If there's anything else you'd like to share or channel, feel free to before we go back to Patrick. Whatever you'd like.
Let's just do a quick 3 breaths to soul. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Because then we always give you guys an experience. Okay, so it's just 3 simple breaths, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you are. And so on the first breath, you're going to breathe in your whole self, your individuality, your character, your persona, in all of that, which makes you a self. And so breathe this in, everybody, and hold it. You breathe in yourself, basically breathing yourself in, removing yourself from the world, because you're releasing yourself on this level so that you can be available for the next levels. This is part of the Exodus. And now breathe it out and fall back into the stillness. That's the still point. One of the three God gifts that systems that we created, the still point, the pillar of transformation, and the God gate. And so feel the stillness. It's very quiet and calm. You don't have to do anything. It's very relaxing. There's nothing to have to get done. Just let it all go. The next breath is going to be your spiritual, your greater purpose. Everybody breathe that in, the greater reasons why you're here, and hold it. Breathe in that stillness that you just fell into and hold that. Let it mingle. Now exhale out, up to God and out to the world, the greater reason why you are here. Now fall back into the solace, which is like a quantum state. And this is where you can basically begin to not exist. You are giving this existence back for a refund and saying, okay, now I'm going to be in my real good non-existent place. And so now the solace is just undoing you. Patrick is clearing really well. And so now, on the final breath, you'll breathe in your soul. So everyone breathe in the greater reason, your greater identity in the universe. And hold that, bring in the solace. And so this releases you as a soul of who you are. The two angels are behind you, opening the curtain within. And now exhale and fall back through that curtain, which is where your inner soul is. And so as you do, just fall back into the soul light and allow the soul to permeate through your being, every aspect. As this emoliates you and flows through you, it takes all lower patterns and burns them, making you pure soul light. And that's where we're going to leave you, Todd, and everyone else. Because if you're that vibration, then you're basically home. If you get to that vibration, and we will be showing people how to express that properly, you will be creating a heavenly dimension here. Because after we get people to the Exodus or going to the New Earth, guess what? We're going to have you turn around and bring it to this planet. And so that's the three breaths to soul.
Thank you for sharing that, for everything else. Thank you very much.
Now, street smart, because we like practical divinity. All right. If you guys have this thing, someone's coming up in your face, or you're engaged, or you come across an accident and somebody's truly injured and all that stuff, and you get worked up and it wants to engage you, or there's a zombie garbage truck that just run you over because you didn't get out of the way. And so somebody's like, rah, then just do the breath to soul. 1, 2, 3, boom. And just see yourself in your soul. And that will put you in the quantum stillness.
Perfect.
Every time you do this, you calibrate the physical body self with your soul. By doing this constantly, then you get to a certain state where you become vibrationally unavailable. There's no protection needed because polarity can't get to that level.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for letting us interact with you. This has been, if we had an emotional body, it would be considered a pleasure. But it was really good to have fresh meat so we could then really work on you guys. You know, it's just yummy. And so, oh, and by the way, after Spiritual Good Time, we created something. It's called a pillarette. It's got a quantum filter. So after Spiritual Good Time, you can light up smoke your pillarette. Oh, because it sure was good for us. And thank you so much for having us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
We'll talk to you later. Patrick will come through now.
Yes.
And if you want any other information or anybody else, Patrick can give the email or whatever.
Yes.
Farewell, Todd. Thank you for allowing us to be on your transmission show.
You're very welcome. Yes. I think we'll have one of those pillarettes.
Rebecca, we need to send Todd a case of pillarettes because he's
I loved it. Absolutely fascinating. So let me ask you this, first of all. I know you have, I want you to go ahead and cover for everybody what you're doing in terms of the Exodus program, any other programs that you have, your weekly programs, and do you do session, one-on-one session?
Oh, absolutely. Thousands of them. And that's where Kartron learned. He actually saw the same patterns, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so then he was able to come up with a system of dialoguing with darkness where you can engage it psychologically, energetically, and have it choose to go home. Right.
Okay.
And so, for instance, it would be taken up to the highest council of that, whatever is messing with stuff, and then he would work on it from there. Otherwise, it could just be sessions and stuff, and Kartron could open things up, complete covenants, petition, stuff like that. And often Kartron does it with his friend Rebecca, who brings through these dominion level angels that have been cooking her butt for 5 years. Oh, boy. I'm so glad I'm not Rebecca, because she's like, oh, the stuff she goes through. She goes, oh my God, they're giving me a new strand of DNA. It's like, oh, thank you for not having that happen to me. It's like, wow. So Rebecca's functional. And so we do the sessions, and then the Exodus program came from being on the Darius show. And this was the Stairway to Heaven. Now, what I'm looking at doing is this summer, where I'm getting perfected, a 4-foot Tesla coil with the noble gases. You turn that sucker on, and the whole table of elements cooks you. So you can get shocked by it if you want. And then I have this quantum field generator. So it's a 26-foot wide quilting material that's based upon the temple sciences, so you can feel that. So we're going to be, for the first time, combining the Tesla coil, noble gases, with the quantum generator, and open a gateway. And so we're using solfeggios also, and certain other frequencies to then, because if you got like the 9 solfeggio tones, you get aligned with that, diseases can leave, right? Because you get to the harmony. So we're combining the stairway, which is the heaven, and I'm trying to build a stage, if the resources are there, like out of aluminum or something, then so then you can step on the sound.
Yeah.
Right. And so each step, you're becoming aligned with the higher and higher frequency until you get to, that's what the monks sang, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So we're using the sound, the Tesla energy, and the gases, because your body receives all of that. And that's a stairway staging that I'm wanting to create this year, so that you come into this tabernacle tenting system, you step on the stairway frequencies, and you go in, because the quantum field generator literally softens this dimension.
Yeah.
And so people's beings can come in and stuff. And so that's what that is.
Beautiful. So, and so I just wanted to say that too, because typically what happens on the show, people resonate with our guests. They typically, if they do energy work, session work, one-on-one, they usually get a lot of requests. So anyone on the live and on the replay, obviously this is the year that we're in co-creation, collaboration, sovereignty, and expansion. We want to support our brothers and sisters. If this resonates with you, please reach out to Patrick and follow up on his different initiatives, including the one-on-ones. And if you could too, or Rebecca could put the links, any applicable links in the comments of the show, so people might find it easier when they go through it as they watch.
Yes, Todd, we found that since 2013, I just decided to broadcast. And so people in Sweden and stuff, they, from the comfort of their home, can go to the Kartron experience. And so we pick a subject matter for each season. Now this is season 31 coming up this month. And that will be in alignment with the journey of the 5 elements, earthly thing that we're going to be doing, triggering the coil and stuff up there in New York. And so so they can sign on the broadcast too if they want.
Okay.
And so then we give at least half of it away. So if you want Kartron stuff, then just show up. You don't have to pay anything, because you know how it is. If money doesn't come from one way, it'll come from another way bigger. That's
Very
just
true. Very, very true.
And so we just charge enough to then keep the thing going. Because why do you need all those extra mansions and stuff? It's like, please, getting you guys woken up, that's the treasure right there.
That's right.
Right.
And the universe reciprocates. I want to say too, we'll be up there on between January 17th through 19th at the Waves of Light Conscious Conference in Sarasota. So if you're in Clearwater, if you're not traveling at that time, we're definitely going to look you up. I'd love to do a show side by side. I think it'd be a lot of fun. It's been a pleasure, and I'd love to collaborate with you again.
I want you to stand on the quantum generator and touch the coil, and then you tell me what it's like. And so we should have that all figured out by then. We could bring that thing, a tabernacle tending system containing the energy. Oh, yeah, we could have a real party, Todd.
Hey, I'm all for it, and that's what this platform is for. It's a platform to expand awareness for folks like you, like Kartron, and for
January
this type of new technology as well. So
now, here's what I'm seeing is that if we do this, we can do a special show. And because everybody in the quantum state, they're all one, right? So they don't have to physically show up, but if they want to, it's plenty of time to get ready. Yeah. And then we could have a real event. Yes. And just a real exodus. This is the stairway to heaven. You know, you guys could be stepping on the sound. So, come on down, join Todd. And if you want us there and bring this stuff, then you ask for it. So that'll be great. Yeah, that sounds really cool. And I can do whatever I want. So I'll just adjust my thing. So in January, we'll be there.
Sounds perfect to me. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Kartron. Thank you, Rebecca. Wishing you all peace, power, protection, and big love. I look forward to collaborating with you again, and we'll be in touch soon. Okay.
Yes, and I'll just make the next calendar season and put it out so you guys can see it. It'll be on my Facebook. Thank you, Todd. This was really cool, and it was nice meeting you for the first time. It feels like we've known each other for a very long time.
That's very true. You take care. You take care.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.